Hello and welcome to Cooking Classic. I'm Kathy Coslett and I'm in the Kowalski Auditorium at the campus of Luzerne County Community College at the Joseph A. Paglianiti Culinary Arts Institute. And I am with certified executive chef Dave Pempleton.
Hello.
And Dave is also the professor of culinary arts and of pastry arts here at Luzerne County Community College, and he's a certified chef educator. So get ready to be educated.
Okay.
And today we're going Asian. What's up first?
Well, we're going to do a simple chicken stir fry using some very simple ingredients that you can buy at the grocery store. The thing is creating restaurant quality food with grocery store ingredients in a half an hour or less.
Okay, you said simple. Remember that.
Very
Simple. Okay, first thing we do.
Okay, first thing I like to do is I like to create the sauce. So I start with a little bit of chicken broth. I'm going to pour this in this
What's a little bit?
Here. Maybe about 8 ounces.
Okay.
Maybe a touch more. It's always better to have a little more than not enough. Okay. Then I'm going to put a little bit of oyster sauce. Maybe about 2 ounces. A little teriyaki sauce, like so. And some cornstarch, and cornstarch is the thickening agent. Okay? I like to get all this stuff ready so I don't have to, stir frying is a very quick cooking method, and I don't want to have to mess around with that later.
Okay, so you did about 2 tablespoons
about two
of the
2.5.
cornstarch?
Yeah. I don't measure everything exactly. When I bake, I do, but cooking is more of an art, more up to interpretation. So now what I do is I just put that on the side.
Okay, now you told me that the oyster sauce already has some teriyaki in it and other ingredients when you purchase it, but then you go ahead and add some more anyway?
I think it just needs a little more color, a little more flavor, so that's what I do. So we're going to start with just a plain vegetable oil. And the key is to have your wok nice and hot, okay? So you're going to preheat your wok. I like to spread the oil up the sides. And we're going to put our chicken in there. And our chicken, we've cut our chicken into kind of bite-sized,
Yeah, it's really little, sure.
kind of bite-sized strips. And I don't like to do anything to it, okay? I just like to let it sit there for a minute. If you stir it around too quickly, it tends to want to stick to the pan, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our spoon here, and we're going to start to stir it around, hence stir fry. I don't season the chicken at all at first. I just kind of let it cook.
Why is it that you don't do that? I know that you don't season meat quite often, do you?
Well, the reason I don't season it, if I put salt on that meat before it goes into this high heat pan, it doesn't have the same ability to caramelize because it brings moisture to the surface and it won't caramelize as well.
Okay.
So I'm looking for some caramelization here. So therefore, I don't salt it. If I need to add salt, and we have to remember there's salt in the teriyaki, there's salt in soy, there's a little salt in oyster sauce. You want to be careful. I usually salt and pepper at the very end if it needs it.
Now, I have to ask this too. If someone doesn't have a wok at home, what's the next best pan?
I think you can use the saute pan. I think that would work okay.
All right.
That would work just...
And is the reason for the wok just because it's a little bit deeper so you can sort of
yeah, and plus it has
things around?
If you see the way the wok is kind of shaped, it has more cooking surface area, and I can use that cooking surface area all the way up the sides of the pan.
Okay.
Okay? And it's important to use tender cuts of meat too, and today I'm just using boneless, skinless chicken breast.
Yeah, and he's not kidding when he says it's cut in bite-sized pieces and real thin.
It's kind of sliced on a bias, which means sliced on an angle. It allows it to look bigger, and it allows it to eat a little more tender, I think. Okay? And Asian diets are a little bit unlike our Americanized diet, and they don't contain as much protein as we're used to eating. Okay, the ratio for Asian cooking might be 50 to 75% vegetable to 25% protein. Okay, so
that's interesting.
They use more. I think it's as long as you don't put a lot of oil, it's a healthier way to eat, I think. Okay?
Now, is this cooked totally?
It's not totally done, but it's where I want it to be. Okay. Next, we're going to create our. Asian dishes are usually flavored with ginger and garlic, which are minced. You can see it's really, really fine. So we're going to start to create a flavor profile next. Okay. Okay. I'm going to pass it over, Kathy.
Yeah, and the other thing we have to remember too is get ready before we start.
Mise en place is key, as you probably are aware in the culinary field. Mise en place, having all the stuff that you need at your arm's reach, is very, very important, especially with stir fry, because you're cooking very, very quickly. Okay?
And have someone like me in the kitchen that you can pass off to use.
Right. So we're going to put our vegetables in. As to their cooking times, the things that after I've put my flavoring ingredients such as garlic and ginger and a little bit of onion. Then I'm going to start putting my vegetables in as to their cooking times. Now, carrots take a little longer than mushrooms, so I'm going to put my peppers in next. And I like a little different cuts, like some I'm cutting on a bias, it means to cut at an angle. Some I'm cutting in a stick form or a julienne form. And I think it all adds to the overall look of the dish when it's done, okay?
Now, it's one of the nice things about this cooking, too, is that these vegetables don't have to get real soft or thoroughly cooked.
You want them to be crispy, and it's a very good question, because there are certain vegetables, like broccoli. I don't think broccoli cooks in the stir-frying method 100% properly. So what I do, there are certain vegetables like broccoli, I'll steam them off beforehand, and I'll shock them to keep that nice green color, okay? And then I'll move on from there. And you notice there's some vegetables here that I haven't put in, and I'm not going to, because snow peas, bok choy, and those types of things, they just need to be heated through. And if you try to put them in now, what'll happen is they'll just they'll get a bad color and they'll wilt. Okay. So now I'm going to start my sauce. I'm going to pour my sauce into here, depending on how much I need. And now I'm going to just kind of mix that around. You notice I always have, when I'm doing Asian cooking, I always have a little bit of chicken broth handy in case this would get too thick for me.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, now, what we're going to do is we're going to add our bok choy.
Bok choy. Now, that's a cabbage, correct?
Cabbage, a Chinese cabbage. We're going to add our cooked broccoli. Now, I like to use some canned things, too, that are already cooked and pasteurized, like baby corn. I think that they look nice, okay? And some water chestnuts. And at the very end, I'm going to put
the snow peas.
My snow peas, okay?
They're great, aren't they? I love that vegetable.
Now, I'm just going to stir these through.
That looks wonderful.
Okay, we're getting there, okay? I think it's a little dry, though, so I'm going to add a little bit, excuse my reach, I'm going to add a little bit more sauce. Like
Very
so.
polite, chef.
Okay. And I like a sweetener. So, in this case, I'm going to use honey. If you don't have honey, you could use brown sugar, you can use white sugar, and those types of things. Okay?
Is that typical in most Asian cooking?
I think it is. I think they require some kind of a sweetener. Sometimes they use some type of syrup. Sometimes they use sugar. Sometimes they use honey. I kind of like honey, so that's kind of the one I stick with. Now I'm going to put my chicken back to the dish. You can just put that over there. And I'm just looking to just finish cooking that chicken. Okay? Now, for color, I want this to be a little bit darker, so I'm just going to add, and this is something you play around with. Okay? I'm just going to add a little bit more oyster sauce, okay? And this is a luxurious type sauce, very, very, it's a little bit on the sweet side. It's kind of velvety, okay? And it's the Asians' component of a brown sauce. We would call it brown sauce in American cooking, okay? This is their version of a brown sauce, I guess, okay? As far as we're
spectacular.
As far as
really
we're going, if you could put that on that side, Kathy, and what we'll do is maybe we can grab a plate from down there.
Okay. There you go. Wait
As you can see, stir
this.
fry is actually a very, very fast way of cooking as well. Okay. Put that over there on those plates, please.
I think I can do that.
Now, what we can do is, you can see it's very, very colorful. I don't like it swimming in sauce, but I think this looks just about right. You can see the colors.
So again, if someone wanted that thinner, though, they could add more chicken broth.
I think they could.
But you wouldn't.
I like the sauce to stick to the food. So you can see it's beautiful. It's nice and colorful. And the recipe that I give you today would probably, can I have a little paper towel there? Would probably be enough to feed 2 to 3 people. Me, I'm not like one of those chefs that likes to put a lot of herbs and stuff on the edge of the plate. I think the edge of the plate to me is like a picture frame. So I like to keep it nice and clean, and I like to use a paper towel to do that. Okay. Now, I would usually serve this with a steamed rice. Okay. And today we're going to use the steamed rice here.
Okay. So you're going right to the center.
Yeah, we're going to go right to the center. We're going to kind of try to loosen this up. Like so.
Terrific.
Put that over there. And then we can take one of these garnishes
Tricked you, didn't I? You thought I was getting something for you.
Okay, like so. And then I'm going to garnish this with a little bit of green onion.
Okay.
A little bit of green onion on the top.
That looks great.
And that's kind of the way that would look.
fabulous. Yeah.
That's a chicken stir fry using the stir fry technique using a wok. Okay?
And it's fast, easy to do when you get home if you have everything all together, out and in order.
But it's very, very important. It's very important to taste the food as well. So, Kathy, I think that we need to taste a little bit of this.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to try the broccoli. That's really good. It really is. You should
Nice
do this at
flavorful
home.
sauce. Nothing
It's
jumps out at
excellent.
you. It's kind of a nice marriage of flavors.
All right, can we hurry up and go to a break so I can eat a little bit more? No, I'm only
Okay.
kidding.
So that's chicken stir fry.
Thank you very much. And when we return, we're going to do an Asian beef dish. So we'll be right back. Don't forget to join us. Welcome back to Cooking Classic. Thanks for joining us. And I would also like to introduce you to our special guest today. We have a number of students from the West Side Career Technology Center in Luzerne County and the West Side Career Technology Center, did I say that? In Luzerne County, I'm sorry, and the Career Technology Center in Lackawanna County. So lots of students with us today, future chefs. And they've got this guy on his toes because they're watching closely. And he's here to make a beef lo mein.
Okay.
Dave Pembleton.
Ready to go? Okay, again, I like to start with making the sauce first, okay? So I'll take a little pitcher here, and we're going to start with some beef broth, okay? This was made here at the school. If you don't have beef broth at your house, the stuff you buy in the store is fine, okay? We're going to take a little bit of oyster sauce or a sweetened brown sauce
All right,
of Asian, it's used in Asian cooking a lot.
So tell us what's in an oyster sauce.
Well, obviously oysters, okay? Teriyaki sauce, different flavorings, and they let them roast for a long period of time until they come to this thick sauce, and then they strain it, and it's just great, okay? And I like to use a little sweetener, so I'm using a little bit of honey. You can use brown sugar, you can use white sugar if you like. And then what I like to do is I like to create the sauce right from the beginning. So I'm going to add about 2.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. And usually in Asian cooking, cornstarch is the preferred thickening agent. American cooking, a lot of time it's a roux, which is flour and fat that's cooked. So now we have our sauce about ready.
Now this sauce is really similar to what you used with the chicken stir fry.
I think most of them are similar. They use the same. Either you use a teriyaki or a soy. Soy's a little saltier. They're using some kind of brown sauce. So they're using an oyster sauce, or they're using a Hoisin sauce, or they're using something thick, or a thick soy sauce, and a sweetener and a broth and a thickener like cornstarch. That's pretty much it. Okay. I like to start with a nice hot pan. You notice I'm using a wok-tight pan today. I like to use a vegetable oil to start with.
Why vegetable oil? I've heard, and I asked that question because I've heard some people talk about using a peanut oil when they do this, or
You
is
can
that
use a
an
peanut oil,
allergy?
but you have to be careful about allergies.
Okay.
So from an educator standpoint, I'm not going to use peanut oil. But peanut oil has a very, very nice flavor, but it's more expensive too, and I'm kind of frugal with money. So I like to use a vegetable oil.
He's
okay?
honest.
Yep. So I'm going to put the meat in the pan, okay?
Yeah.
Right away. I'll take that too.
Putting me to work again.
You be the sous chef for today, okay? Now you notice I didn't really touch the meat. I've cut the meat in long, very thin slices because this is a very quick cooking method, and I want to get the meat cooked as quickly as I can. You notice I didn't touch it very much, okay? When I put it into the pan, I didn't touch it because I want to give that meat a chance to get some caramelization to it, okay? And if you start stirring it around too quickly, sometimes it has a tendency to stick. Today I'm using New York strip steak that I've sliced thin, but you could use sirloin, okay? You could use the tenderloin tips. Okay. There's a part of the tenderloin when you clean it from the ends that is not good for high quality steak. So sometimes we save them, we slice them thin, we make a stir fry for lunch, we create some type of a special. It's perfect for this application.
Why a sirloin or a New York strip? Why use one or the other?
Because they're tender. I tend to like New York strip better because I think it has a better flavor. But you know, out in the Asian restaurants, I don't know if you've ever gone out for Chinese food, it generally tends to be on the less expensive side. Right. So a lot of times they can't use that type of meat, so they would choose a sirloin for cost. Okay. Some of them might even use a round, different parts of the round, and slice it thin.
As long as you keep it sliced thin, you're okay, right?
That's the real key thing. You have to slice it really thin. Now, me myself, I like to remove the meat from the pan. In many Asian restaurants, you'll see them do this. In some, you don't. But I think that liquid has an adverse effect on meat protein. So I like to remove it from the pan when I'm creating the sauce. Okay? So I'm going to put a touch more oil because the pan got kind of dry. We're going to start with our flavoring ingredients. Okay? Ginger, generally used in stir fry, and I like to use fresh ginger. And I like to chop it really fine because it's very, very potent. Okay? And a little bit of garlic. So we're going to put them in first.
Now, when you say a little bit of garlic, what are you talking about in there? I mean, garlic
a tablespoon. Well, to me, there's never enough garlic. Okay? But for this recipe, I think that we're talking about a tablespoon or two. Okay. And like I'm saying, you know, when you're creating Asian food, it's up to you, to your likes too. You know, if you like a little more ginger, it's not going to have any adverse effect if you put a little more ginger or a little more garlic, like it would if you put too much yeast in bread dough. Okay. You know, so baking is more of a science and cooking is more of an art. So you can take some liberty there. Okay. So we're going to put our heat back on. Now we're going to put our onions.
Now, for those at home, when you're talking about high heat or turn the heat down, where are we on the stove?
Well, I started at a very high heat.
So what's, okay.
Now I'm at about a medium high heat, okay? But stir fry most of the time, I don't know if you've ever seen anyone stir fry, you get into those things, they have what I call turbo burners. And we have a wok station upstairs. It is hot, hot, hot. So you have to be very careful to control the temperature of the pan.
You have to be really fast, too.
You do, okay? Right. So now we're going to put some mushrooms. I've got a julienne of red pepper, which is kind of a long, like a matchstick type cut.
All right, now
and that's another thing about Asian cooking. I like the different cuts because I think it adds interest to the dish. We're going to stir those around a little bit, okay?
You took the question right out of my mouth.
I'm sorry.
You talked about that last time with the different cuts.
Okay, a little bok choy, which is a cabbage. And this adds some color and it adds some crunch to the dish because especially with these vegetables, they should be crunchy as opposed to the vegetables in an American diet. A lot of times they're a little bit more cooked than this.
Now, with the bok choy, so we're talking about probably a stalk, you think?
Yeah, maybe one stalk.
In this size dish, which would feed maybe 2 people?
Yeah, 2 to 3 people, perhaps, you know, when this whole thing is done, okay? Now, we have some water chestnuts still here, and we've got some broccoli here, but I don't want to put the broccoli in that yet because it affects the color, okay? So we're going to actually make our sauce next. So we're going to make sure we stir this around because sometimes the cornstarch has a tendency to go to the bottom.
Now, often when you saute, you talk about deglazing. Is this doing that?
Yeah, it kind of is.
Here?
It's washing. There's some food product that is stuck to the bottom. And we're gonna kind of release those flavors, okay? So that's kind of what deglazing is all about. Yeah, so there is some part of that in Asian cooking, okay? There you go. Thank you. And you always want to have a little bit of your broth around. You hold a little bit of the broth back because if this gets too thick, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to thin it out with something. And probably the best thing to thin it out with is beef broth. You could do it with water, but that would, you know, kind of take some of the flavor away. Okay, you can see I put the broccoli in there.
That looks so nice.
Give it a really nice color. Now I'm going to put the water chestnuts in. The reason I didn't put water chestnuts in before is because I want them to keep their crunch, and plus they're already fully cooked. Okay, and now I'm going to take a little bit more of my oyster sauce because I like it nice and brown. Okay, just a touch more. And now, let me take it away. Okay. Now we're going to put our beef back into the dish. Now once I put my beef back into the dish, I'm going to control the heat again. I'm going to turn the heat down, okay? Because once the meat protein is back in there, you don't ever want to bring it up to a fast simmer or a boil again because it makes it tough.
Now, the beef wasn't totally cooked again, or is that just a matter of
It was
taste,
just seared.
how
It
you
was
like
caramelized, so it was just seared.
Okay.
But it's so thin, it's almost fully cooked anyway, okay?
Okay.
And in Asian cooking,
Yeah, that
you
doesn't
generally
really-
can't ask for colors. You know, it is done through at least a medium, okay?
And what kind of noodles?
These are soba noodles,
Soba.
which are an Asian noodle, an Asian soft noodle. If you get lo mein, it's a soft noodle. If you get chow mein, it's generally a crunchy noodle. Okay. Now, Kathy, if you would be kind enough to hand me a plate, you can put this one over there. We're going to plate this up, okay? And
that means we get to taste.
right, and
We're going to get fired for fatness here on Cooking Classic.
we're gonna garnish with a little bit of chopped green onion.
Okay.
And
we'll
many
let
times
you
in
do
an
that.
Asian restaurant, they just pour things right out of the pan. Okay, they have things measured out pretty well. Okay, like so.
That looks great.
And again, I don't
really
like
does.
anything on the rim of the plate. We're going to garnish with a little bit of green onion, like so.
Okay.
And I'm going to take these out of the way. And this is our version
Okay.
of a beef lo mein. You see the sauce is nice and shiny, but it's not
Yeah,
swimming in
it's incredible.
sauce. There's a lot of different colors going on there. There's caramelization on the meat, which just adds to the flavor profile. So that's 2 Asian dishes that you can do at home using grocery store food in a half an hour or less.
Now, with American dishes and things, we often talk about pairing them with wines and all different things. What would you pair this with?
Sake.
Sake. Silly me.
Sake or sometimes, I like red wines.
Okay.
And it's not, wine pairing is not the same as it used to be. It used to be always white wines with chicken or fish and red wines with lamb and beef. It's not that way anymore. It's like whatever wine you like, drink with whatever you like. I like hearty red wines like a good Zinfandel or a good Merlot, and that's what I would have. Or maybe a cold beer. Or maybe a soft drink. So, but sake,
Okay.
sake comes to mind for me.
All
so
right,
I think we
here
should
we
have a
go.
taste of this.
All right. This looks wonderful. It's terrific.
Very good.
Another good job
Okay.
by
Well,
Chef
thank
Dave
you.
Pembleton. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay.
And thank all of you for joining us as well, all of you students and you, our audience at home, and we will see you next time on Cooking Classic.
Take care.